Dear friends, we always start good things with the invocation of God. So let us have the prayer. Guru Brahma, Guru Vishnur, Guru Devo Maheshwaraha, Guru Sakshat Parabrahma, Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. भारतस्य स्वातंत्र्य पंचसप्ततिः वर्षनिमित्तं तथा च एकपञ्चादशाधिकशतं योगी अरविन्दस्य जयन्ती निमित्तं विवेकानंद केन्द्रस्य विवेकानंद प्रबोधिनी द्वारा व्याख्यानमालिका मध्ये अद्य अहं वदामि. First of all, I would like to express my gratitude to Vivekananda Kendra's Vivekananda Prabodhini for giving me this prestigious opportunity to share my thoughts in this Swatantra Bharat 75 lecture series and to commemorate 151st birth anniversary of Sri Yogi Arvinda. I feel myself fortunate for getting invited myself on this august platform where many illustrious personalities have already shared their thoughts in the past. I am sharing my humble thoughts on the theme Enrichment of Poetics and Poetry in Sanskrit literature by Kashmiri Sanskrit scholars up to 1st century of the current era. To begin with, I will recite a beautiful stotram in praise of our Kashmir. Kashmira Vaibhavam. Shri Chakro Parisamsthitam Suranutaam Sri Rajarajeshwarim Shri Vidya Jananim Shivam Trinayanam Karunyavaram Nidhim Shri Kashmira Puradhivas Niratam Shri Kantha Cheto Haram Shri Vani Parisevitam Puraharam Vande Mahadevatam Sumangala Bhal Vibhushananka Vibhati Rekhev Sukunkumasya Kashmira Bhu Kunkuma Janma Bhumir Dishuttarasyaam Bharataksha Khande Anadi Kalad Apikashyapasya Kupevaya Bhati Himalayagne Girvanavani Kavita Maisa Kashmira Bhumir Jayatim Prashasta Yatra Draksha Maduram Maduram Divyadhara Prasute Netranandam Vidhati Tatha Kunkumancha Kesarascha Shaivadvaitam Hrude Sukhamapya Tanoti Prabhutam Kashmiraste Bharat Vasudha Bhushana Nivamanti Yatra Strinam Lasati Madhura Charugirvana Vani Vani Sakshan Nivasati Mano Harani Sarvashavitaha Shaktestvam Bhuvana Viditam Dyota Tenavya Bhasa Bhasakhyo Va Jayati Janata Chidvikkaso Vivada Draksha Kunkuma Kaisaraira Vilasita Bindujana Preyasi Shaiva Daita Sudha Bhira Yushti Vikasat Shanam Kurullasini Vani Pitit Vitrubha Bhita Janamana Shanti Prada Nirmala Kashmirakhya Mahamahi Vijayate Samdharya Shobhanvita Munira Abhinavagupto Billanah Kallanascha Dhunirasa Gunato Ye Kavya Bhedan Vitenu Sarasa Kavi Varenna Kshema Purvendra Nama Dhavalatama Shaska Santi Kashmira Kaste Nikhila Kavi Samuho Ramya Kashmira Jataha Ruchira Tabhava Shobhi Sanskrute Kavya Vruddhim Jabhinavatar Ritya Samvidhaya Prasastim Nirupada Niravadayam Praptavanam Punamatra Rasabharita Phalanam Janmabhumi Prabhutam Rasasahira Krutinam Srushtikatrim Shatanam Rasika Jana Sukhanam Mula Hetur Bahunam Sarasa Sijanam Bhati Kashmira Bhumi Kashmira Jat Kavita Rasabindu Siktam Girvana Vangmaya Mativam Chamatkrutam Bhi Buddhera Vikasa Mamala Sukhamata Manascha Kesham Dadati Navare Sakrudapya Adhitam Na Bharata Samahkhando Na Sanskritam Samumvachaha Na Kashmira Samodesho Na Tat Kavya Samambhuvi Yat Karunya Lave Na Deva Jagada Unmilati Kshanata Tam Vande Sharadam Devi Kashmira Puravasinim Vyasochistam Jagat Sarvam. It is absolutely true that whatever is prevailing in this world is already dealt by Maharshi Vyasa. What anybody else can add? What is not known? What is not stated or propounded? Nothing is the only authentic answer to these questions. And I am neither a professor nor an academician per se. I am still a student of literature, Sanskrit, Marathi and English too, especially poetics and poetry. Therefore, in order to gather vital, relevant and important information for the discourse, I would like to candidly tell you that I have referred Contribution of Kashmir Sanskrit Literature, a PhD thesis by Dr. K. S. Natarajan, Bangalore, which was published in the year 1970. A History of Sanskrit Literature by Dr. A. Beridel Kith, London. वैदिक संस्कृतीचा विकास, written by तर्कतीर्थ लक्ष्मणशास्त्री जोशी, वाई, पुणे फ्रॉम महाराष्ट्र. संस्कृत साहित्याचा सोपत्तिक इतिहास, written by Dr. विनायक करंबळीकर. भारतीय साहित्यशास्त्र, written by G.T. देशपांडे. and अभिजित संस्कृत साहित्याचा इतिहास, written by Dr. मंजुषा गोखले, मुंबई, Dr. गौरी माहुलीकर, मुंबई, and Dr. Uma Vaidya, Mumbai. Therefore, whatever literature and books I could access plus internet archives, I have prepared my thought for this. Let us now turn towards our today's topic to be discussed. In order to understand the progression of any country, it is important to understand its geography and topography. Today's most often talked word is geopolitics, that is international politics revolving around the geography or connected with the geography or dependent on the geographical situation. Let us look at two extreme locations from Indian point of view, I mean national security. In this way, the location of Kashmir has to be understood vis-a-vis other countries too, which are adjoining India. The point under reference is, if the country or a region is under constant unstable situation, politically or internationally, there is very little possibility of evolution of any art or literature. But that way, in olden days, Kashmir was that way, was very well protected geographically. Let us look at its position historically. Jambu Dweep and Bharatavarsha. On the northern side, from one point, there are 6 mountain ranges. There are Himalaya, Karakoram, Kubenarul, Henshan, Hindu Kush, Suleiman, Meru Parvat. In Puranas, Hindu Kush is referred as Hemakuta, Suleiman as Nishada, Karakoram as a Nil, Kubenarul as a Shweta, the Henshan as Shrungi. The areas in which these 6 mountains are situated is called Jambu Dweep. Jammu is a remainder of Jambu in Puranas. This Jambu Dweep consists of total 9 divisions: Bharatavarsha, Harivarsha, Ramyak Varsha, Hiranmaya Varsha, Uttarakuru Varsha, Ilavritta Varsha, Bhadrascha, Gandhamadan. Out of these, first 3, namely Bharatavarsha, Harivarsha and Ramyak Varsha, are on the southern side of Meru Parvat, whereas next 2, namely Hiranmaya Varsha and Uttarakuru Varsha, are located on the northern side, and on western side of middle is Ilavritta Varsha. On eastern side are Bhadrascha and Gandhamadan. The famous religious Sarovar place is situated in Bhadrascha. Today's Afghanistan and Iran are in Ilavritta Varsha, and at northern side of Meru Parvata is a Uttarakura Varsha. It is believed that in ancient times, gods used to reside in Gandhamadan. If you use Google Earth, not Google Map, and see it in 3D mode, you find invulnerability of Kashmir due to tall, strong and tough terrains of Himalayan ranges. Here the word Himalaya I have used to denote general meaning as we use in our day-to-day life in spoken language by common man. In continuation, Kashmir has embraced various branches of Sanskrit literature. Kashmirians have written many original works. New paths are traversed, new theories are expounded, and new schools of thoughts are organized in a systematic and methodical manner by Kashmirian scholars. The happy valley of Kashmir is described as goddess Uma in Nilamata Puran or a Nilamata Puran as Tvameva Devi Kashmira Tvamevo va Prakirtita Tvameva Sarva Devi Nam Murtir Bhir Devi Samsthita. It was created by a sage Kashyapa as stated in that Purana. It is Kashyapapuri or Kashmira's Kasyapi. In the words of Jona Raja, Shri Gonanda Mukhair Dharma Samukharay Kalay Kila Kashmira Kashyapi Bhupair Pali Gunashali Bhihi. It is Sharada Desh as described by Billana as under Sahodaraha Kunkumakesharanam Bhavanti Nunam Kavita Vilasa. The Sharada Desham Apasya Društastesham Yatnyatra Maya Praroha. It was one of the earliest homes of Aryans where the first Vedic hymns were spoken, composed in all their beauty and grandeur. Sanskrit was spoken language there. Even women and children could speak in that language as fluently as they could in their own mother tongue. The names of various works written by Kashmirians on different topics at present lying scattered in different places in the world. It is not now possible to have idea of one glance as to how much Kashmir has contributed to each branch of Sanskrit literature: poetics, poetry, philosophy, history, grammar, satire and miscellaneous, and how valuable the contribution is to the country and the world pertaining to Sanskrit literature. The contribution of Sanskrit literature suffered a serious setback in Kashmir with the advent of Muslim ruler there. Its effect was that Sanskrit ceased to be a spoken language and a written language too. So the contribution of Kashmir from very early times to the 17th or 18th century of the current era we mean after the century we call AD, actually it is a current era, is dealt with there. There are 200 writers from Kashmir on various subjects. Of these, 15 are original writers on poetics, 15 are commentators on Natya Shastra and Alankara Shastra, 21 are major poets, 12 are royal poets, 23 are minor poets, 27 are writers on Kashmiri Shaivism, 8 are Buddhist philosophers, 4 are other writers on philosophy, 4 are writers on tantric works, 7 are historians, 16 are grammarians, 4 are Vedic commentators, 2 are writers on social topics, and 8 are writers on miscellaneous subjects, and 43 are those whose works have not been traced yet. The magnitude of the total contribution of these writers put together works up to nearly 400 works, of which major portion pertains 42 to Abhinavagupta, 32 to Kshemendra and 20 to Kshemaraj as ascribed. The large number of works on poetics written by Kashmirians may be partly due to the conducive environments in which Kashmir is situated and partly due to the spontaneous ideas of scholars like Bhamaha, Udbhata, Anandavardhan, Abhinavagupta, Mambat and others. The Alankara Shastra took its birth in Kashmir. Several schools of thoughts were also born there and propounded new ideas and theories before the world of scholars. Udbhata, Vamana, Anandavardhan represented some of these schools. There are more schools of thoughts represented by Bhattanayaka, Kuntala, Kshemendra also took birth in Kashmir. They did not deny the existence of Dhvani idea, but had shown new ways to approach to poetry, putting forth some original ideas. The theory of Vakrokti of Kuntala in poetics appears more well balanced than the Dhvani theory. Kshemendra wrote authoritative commentaries on the philosophical work on Vasugupta, Somananda, Abhinavagupta on Kashmiri Shaivism. If Bhattopala wrote on astrology and astronomy, Sharangadeva wrote on music and medicine. The credit of writing chronicles and historical kavyas also goes to Kashmiri, resulting in the production of Raja Tarangini by Kalyana, Jona Raja, Shrivara, Prajabhatta and Sukha. Similarly, anthologies are written by Shrivara, Vallabhadeva, prayer poem by Jagadhara, Avatara and Gopala, ethical works by Kshemendra, Bhallata and tantric works by Abhinavagupta and Vidyaranyeti. There is big impetus for the composition of new and original works of Kashmir only during particular period, namely from 8th century of the current era to the 14th century of current era. Many works on poetics practically commence from 8th century of the current era with Udbhata and Vamana. Works of Trika system philosophy began to be written about the same time and historical works also fall in the same period. The kings like Jayapada, Avantivarman, who ruled in Kashmir, were enlightened and generous. King Jayapada would not have paid a daily salary of 1 lakh gold coins to Udbhata, the president of the Royal Assembly of Poetics, during his time. Kallana has stated that during his time, King Jayapada invited scholars from all parts of India in large numbers. Muslim rulers like King Zainul Abidin, Sultan Hassan Shah, and Emperor Akbar were noble, cultured, and very broad minded, could not think with prejudice or bias, because they had assimilated their scriptures and had understood that all religions speak of the same universal God and merge in Him like rivers in the ocean. Bodhapya gamairabhinna panthanah siddhavahetavehi Tvayeva nipatyova jannaviya ivarnave. The bright flames of classical Sanskrit traditions began flickering and vanished after the death of King Jailuddin. The Hindu society in Kashmir began to disintegrate and mark the decline of Sanskrit study. Persian language began to spread its influence on the masses and have its stronghold on them. The enthusiasm for Sanskrit learning and composition of beautiful works began to gradually disappear. Its place was taken by Kashmiri, which was the living place of goddess of learning, yielded to foreign influences and suffered a fall which has not yet recovered. But still, the rich heritage which it has descended through the blood among the Kashmirians down to the present day is visible even in the compositions of the vernacular, local language. For instance, the noble teachings and tenets of Kashmiri Shaivism are found in the verses composed in Kashmir by Lalla, the woman philosopher of Kashmir. The spontaneity in the composition of poetry is visible in the works of modern Kashmiri writers also, though in a language slightly different from Sanskrit. The people of Kashmir today may be mostly Muslims. The Hindus may be minority. They become converts only by force of circumstances, as stated by Srivara in his Rajatarangini. Whatever may be the religion, or a language, or a status in the society, they cannot remain indifferent to indigenous traditions of the past and the inspiration that they derive constantly from beautiful natural surroundings. Even in the songs and verses of modern poets of Kashmir, we can see the reflections of patriotic feelings in which the beautiful poetry of Billanai is abounding. Important Sanskrit works and authors referred, we shall have a look at the list first. We shall go quickly through this chronological list of them. From 675 of current era to 725 of the current era, Bhama has propounded many things. From 750 CE to 800 CE, Udbhata. From 750 to 800 and current era, Vamana. From 825 of the current era to 875 of the current era, Rudrata has written many things. From 825 of current era to 875, Rudra Bhatt has written many things. 850 to 900 of current era, Anandavardhan, a major contributor to the literature, has written. Thereafter, after 850 of current era to 900 CE, Mukula Bhatta has written. Bhattanayaka has written from 900 CE to 950 CE, followed by Chandrika Kara, who has written between the period 900 CE to 980 CE. Bhatta Tauta was another author who has penned from 950 CE to 980 CE. Thereafter, Abhinavgupta was there from 950 of current era to 1020 of the current era. From 975 of the current era to 1025 current era, Kuntala or Kuntaka has written. Thereafter, from 1000 CE to to 1050 CE, Rajaka Mahima Bhatta has written, followed by Ratnakara, written from 1000 CE to 1050 CE. Kshemendra was the major contributor thereafter from 1025 to 1050 of the current era. Mammat was another person who has contributed major in the poetics from 1050 CE to 1100 CE. Riella was another author, another writer who has written between the period 1129 CE to 1175 CE. Jayaratha was another person who was there from 1200 of current CE to 1250 of the current era. Shobhakar Mitra was from 1500 CE to 1575 CE. Lolata was another poet who has contributed from 850 CE to 925 CE. Vallabhadeva was another great person from 875 to 925 CE. Ghantaka was there from 925 to 975 CE. Kirtidhara was there from 925 CE to 975 CE. Tikakara was another from 925 of the current era to 975 of the current era. Bhantendurga was there from 930 to 980 CE. Pratiharendu Raja was there from 930 to 980 CE. Harshata was from 930 to 980 CE. Ranjaka Tilaka from 1100 to 1125 CE. Ananda Rajaka was from 1650 to 1700 CE. 1675 CE to 1725 CE, Rajanka or Ratnakanta was there. Now let us have a cursory look first towards a list of poets of Kashmir, which are divided into 3-4 categories. The first category is major poets. There are 18 major poets in the Kashmiri Sanskrit literature. Start with Chandraka, Mentha, Bhamaka, Sankura, Ritabakara, Anandavardhan, Abhinandu, Shivaswami, Shamala, Kshemendra, Samadeva, Vasudeva Kavi, Sambhu, Mankha, Jallana, Jayasadartha, Sivara and Vallabha. Followed by another category called royal poets. There were 12 royal poets in Sanskrit literature from Kashmir. Starting with Gopaditya, Gondana, Matragupta, Harsha Vikramaditya, Dharmasoka, Ranaditya, Pravarasena, Mukta Pidapitam, Jayapida, Avantivarman, Kalasha, Kanaka. Followed by minor poets. There were around 21 minor poets in Sanskrit literature from Kashmir. Muktakana, Kakalpamala, Bhalla Talta, Kayata, Valata, Pandudasa, Jiduka, Alankara, Lastadena, Esaka, Lautika, Amarata Datta, Jagadhara, Baka, Sitikantha, Ananda, Kamalakar, Vijayapala, Hallata, Rallana, Argat. Now let us talk a bit detail about great authors and their works. You might think that why names like Bharatamuni, Bhartruhari, who scripted Natya Shastra, Sangeeta Ratnakar, written by Sharangdhar, their names are not here. The reason is that we are discussing about the enrichment of Sanskrit literature by Kashmiri scholars, and therefore other similar great personalities who have also contributed for Sanskrit literature are not covered in this discourse. However, it does not mean that their work is of any way inferior or negligible quality. They were also great scholars. Now let us have a look at three important categories: philosophers, grammarians and musicologists. They are equally important areas other than literature like drama, poetry and prosaic work, but literature. However, the fields like philosophy, grammar, music are similarly important and are essential for the overall development of human beings and in turn for the society and nation too. In this perspective, the prominent names come before us are, first let us look at the list of philosophers. Yask, who has written Nirukta, was there from 800 before Christ to 500 before Christ. Panini is the greatest name, the Vyakarana, which is the root of Sanskrit language, or rather for that purpose all languages derived from Sanskrit, they follow the Vyakarana of Panini from 600 BC to 300 BC. Purva Mimamsa Shastra, important part of the Shaddarshana in Hinduism in India, was there from 500 BC to 200 BC. Arthashastra is a great text, one of the epitomic work which was written by Kautilya Arya Chanakya from 300 BC to 100 CE at the current era. Patanjali's Mahabhashya is also one of the important commentary which was written between 150 BC to 100 of current era. Manusmriti, well known Smriti, as we talk of Shruti, Smriti and Purana. So, Manusmriti is an important Smriti which was written by Maharshi Manu from 200 BC to 100 of current era. Adi Shankaracharya is the greatest personality in Hindu Sanatana Dharma, Hindu philosophy, Hindu Sanskriti, who was there from 788 of the current era to 820 of the current era. Bhama between 675 to 725 CE, followed by Udbhata from 750 of the current era to 800 of the current era. Vamana is the greatest name in the poetics from 750 CE to 800 CE. Anandavarda is another name in the poetics who was from Kashmir, 850 to 900 CE. Abhinavgupta followed in 950 CE to 1020 CE. Kshemendra from 1025 CE to 150 CE. Mammata from 1050 CE to 1100 CE. The poetic influencers are also important from this perspective. We have just quickly browsed the list of Kashmiri poets. Since our focus here is especially on poetry, we shall not touch other important aspects of the magnificent contribution of Kashmiri scholars in ancient India. In fact, even in the field of poetry, there are many illustrious scholars, but if we tempted to cover all details of all great poetics, it will turn into epitomic book running into several hundred pages, which is not intended here in this discourse limited by time. The basic purpose of this discourse is to throw light on the contribution by Sanskrit poets in ancient India from Kashmir, and therefore we have divided the galaxy of poets into three parts, namely major poets, royal poets and minor poets. Accordingly, we shall now begin discussing the list of major poets first. The first major poet is Chandraka or Chandra. His period is from 100 CE to 125 of the current era. He is the earliest major poet of the Kashmir. His parentage information is not available. Kallana refers to him as a great poet, as the incarnation of Maharshi Vyasa, and as famous dramatist who endeared himself to all the people by his plays. Natyam sarvajana preksham yaschakre samahakavihi dvaipayana munerashastatkale chandrako bhavat. It is recorded by Abhinavgupta in Rajatarangini. Treats him as dramatist of Kashmir who was acclaimed for writing the plays in Sanskrit. He appears more dramatist than a poet. He probably lived during the time of Tunjina or Ranaditya in Kashmir. His date is 103 of the current era, which is widely accepted. There is another opinion of Cunningham that he must have lived in the initial period of the 4th century of the current era. Chandraka seems to have written a work called Natya Prabandha, but it is not traceable yet. Some stray verses are credited to him and are found in anthologies. Similarly, few works on poetics as illustrations of rasa or alankara, Kshemendra gives credit to him in Auchatya Vicharakaraka. His verses are graceful and charming. The descriptions in the few specimens which are referred to above appear to be characteristics of a Kashmiri poet. Second is a Mentha. His period is 450 to 500 of the current era. Mentha also frequently referred to Bhari Mentha. He has enriched Sanskrit literature by his compositions in Kashmir, but details about his family etc. are not available. He is supposed to be a disciple of 20th Acharya Shri Shri Mukarbhashkara of Kamakoti Pitham along with another poet called as Ramila. He is held in very high esteem as could be seen from one of the verses that occurs in the anthologies. The word Mentha means an elephant driver, and in the verse that is referred to above, there is a reference to this sense of the word and also to the poet. The period of Mentha is not specifically mentioned anywhere. It is mentioned at some places that he was the disciple of 20th Acharya of Kamakoti Pitham, whose date is set to between 396 of the current era to 436 of the current era. Kallan opined that Mentha was in the court of King Matrugupta of Kashmir. His date is approximately about the 6th century CE. Some say that he must have been lived in the latter half of 5th century of the current era. Mentha has written Hayagriva Vadha. It is a Mahakavya epic, but is lost unfortunately. It is said that it was a kavya and it was divided into sargas, that is cantos. The writer after his time have referred him at various places. Rajasekhara refers to him as a great poet. Hayagriva Vadham Menthas Tadagre Darshanandavam Asamapti Tatonapat Sadhva Sadviti Vavachaha Atha Grathaitum Tasmin Pustakam Prastutenyathat Lavanya Nirabhiya Tada Swarnam Ajanam Antaradnyataya Tasya Tadrusha Kruta Sakruti Satkrutihi Bhartumeta Kavimeni Punaraktam Shriyopanam. It is from Rajatarangini. Mentha might have proposed in the court of King Vikramaditya, prospered in the court of King Vikramaditya, the second whose date is known to be the early part of 6th century of the current era. Rajasekhara thought that he is the incarnation of Maharshi Valmiki. The author of Navasahara Sancharita also held him in high esteem for his techniques to other poets aspiring for artistic excellence. Vishwanath quotes a verse from the work of Mentha, which is beautifully described the conquest of heaven by the demon Hayagriva to illustrate the figure of speech called Paryokti. The work of Mentha is lost, but his greatness can be ascertained from the composition through various verses that are found in first verse of Hayagriva Vadha and quoted by both Rajasekhara as well as Kshementra. Let us look at it. Arambe yatha bharatumenthasya arambe sargabandasya katha vistar sangrahe shamopadeshe vruttante santah shasanta anushtabham achidatyo hayagriva sudruyesha mamu yasyataha prathayanti yalabbayo sichhatra asmita shriyaha. Another verse which was quoted by both Rajasekhara and Mammatar, yam preksha chirudhapi nivasa pritirunjita made naira uvagumukhe manena hrudaye harehi. Traditions ascribe the authorship of another ship of work of Menthas. It is a poem titled Ramacharita, which is stated to be a Mahakavya with 100 cantos, sargas. Bhumaka is the next person who was there between the period 650 and 700 of the current era. Bhumaka is the next Kashmirian poet of much importance. Bhatta Bhima or Bhatta Bhumaka are other names he is referred to by some scholars. He is a Brahmin which can be inferred from prefix Bhatta before his name. His place of birth is a small village called Udu, which is near Varahamulla, that is Vallabhi Sthana in Kashmir. His parentage is also certainly trust. His period also is uncertain. Kshemendra mentions his name with classifying poet compositions in general. Bhatta Kavya, which is also known Ravanavadha, seems to be followed by similar Bhumaka. The work is titled Ravanarjuniya. Bhumaka has written his Vallabhi Sthana in Kashmir in 27 Saptavinshata Sargaha cantos. Since the style of Bhumaka is similar to that of Bhatti, it can be said that both Bhatti and Bhumaka had lived in the same time. Bhumaka is also quoted by Jayaditya in his Kashika. Based on these facts, it can be inferred that his period may be in the second half of the 7th century of the current era. His Mahakavya has invocation to goddess Tripura Sundari. It narrates the story of Kartavirya Arjuna, which describes the whole Ashtadhyayi of Panini like Bhatti Kavya. Its manuscript is available in Bhandarkar Oriental Research Institute at Pune. It is written in Kashmiri Devanagari characters. In total, there are 1,475 verses, Ekasahasra Panchasaptati Shloka in the 25 cantos Sarga. His work is called as Kavya Shastra as per the classification of Kshemendra. Actually, it is a scientific and technical subject of grammar, but is narrated by adopting the format of poetic composition, which is lucid and graceful. Udbhata's period is 750 to 800 of current era. He was engaged in the court of King Jayapada. In Sadguru Sanatana Parimala, it is stated that he was the contemporary of Abhinavagupta, the 30th Acharya of Kamakoti Pitham. His extraordinary talent helped him dominate the court vis-a-vis his contemporaries in the court, namely Kisara Swami, Manoratha, Isa, Chataka, Sankuka, Damodaran, Danakya and Vamana. Kumarasambhav is his political great work. Udbhata was recognized by King Jayapada for his talent and honored him by conferring on him the title President of Royal Assembly of Poets in Kashmir during his tenure. Kallana has described the interesting incident which took place during his time. According to him, once King Jayapada went around the state in disguise with Kallana. While witnessing Bharatanatyam in the temple of Kartikeya at Pontradaran in Gauda, which was then ruled by King Jayanta, King Jayapada was so impressed by the artistic performance by one of the artists named Kamala and married her. Thereafter, king asked Udbhata to write a Mahakavya, and hence Udbhata wrote the Mahakavya in his shloka meter, Chanda. The flow of that Mahakavya is very graceful and elegant. Shankuka is another poet who lived between the period 830 to 850 of the current era. Shankuka is chronologically next major poet who is reputed to be the author of Mahakavya called Bhuvana Bhudaya. The subject matter of the Kavya is the description of the battle which took place around 850 of the current era. It is written during the rule of King Ajitapida of Kashmir. He ruled from the year 814 to 851 of the current era. Kallan has noted that all in his writings, he was the son of Bhatta Shankara. Shankuka's literature is unfortunately not available today. Rajanka Ratnakara Vagishwara is a name who lived between the period 850 to 900 of the current era. He is the oldest major poet of Kashmir. His compositions are available today. He is son of Amruta Bhanu and descendant of Durga Datta, who lived in Ganga Harda in Kashmir. Few references help us to ascertain his period. Kallan mentioned his name along with those of other poets who obtained fame under the king Avantivarman, who ruled Kashmir from 855 to 884 CE. His chief work is Hari Vijaya, which is also available today. It is a very big poem which is divided in 50 cantos, Panchashata Sargaha, which describe the defeat of demon Andhakasura by Shankara. The story's inspiration of Skanda Purana. The poet, with his excellent imagination, developed this poetic story in Mahakavya full of interesting anecdotes and beautiful descriptions of nature and human nature also. This poem begins with very nice Mangalacharana, which is an invocation of Lord Shiva. It further describes the capital of Shiva, Josnavati. Later, beautiful narration of Shiva Tandava is given in the presence of Parvati. Mandra Parvata is recorded after describing the advent of the season. The sixth cantos give the introduction of the poem. Ratnakara himself says that he was an imitator of the style of Bana and that he tried his level best to show his skills in the composition of poetics. Even long meters are composed with ease, revealing a command over Sanskrit language. There are portions rich with abundance of grace and beauty. This particular reference to saffron, which grows abundantly in Kashmir, in following words. Kashmira kesara paraga ruchirah vyaloki lokena sheet kiranasya nishamukhe yat tadhavya manamiva niranidheva rudagna vichichata bhirabhavat paripandubimbam. He is praised by Rajashekhara as a poet of vast learning, gifted with a high degree of poetic imagination and skills. Ratnakara is often called as Tala Ratnakara by virtue of beautiful similes he has used, which he introduces to compare heavenly glory to a woman carrying a pair of cymbals at the time of evening twilight, when Lord Shiva is engaged in his daily dance. There is much more beautiful description of Hari Vijaya which attracts the attention of readers. The special feature of this kavya is the ease and frequency with which several cantos are composed in the beautiful Vasanta Tilaka Chanda. What is Vasanta Tilaka? In Vasanta Tilaka Chanda or Vritta, in each line there are 14 alphabets which are TGN, Tagana, and BHGN, Bhagana. 2 Lagu and 2 Gurus is a sequence of construction. For example, let us look at one shloka in Hindi. Re krodha jo satata agni bina jalave, भस्मावशेष नरके तनको बनावे, ऐसा न और तुझसा जग बीच पाया, हारे विलोक किंतु न दृष्टि आया. In Sanskrit, the characteristics are as Jneya, Ukta, Vasanta Tilaka, Tabhajaja, Jagau, Gaha. Let us look at one example in Sanskrit of Vasanta Tilaka Chanda. Papan nivarayati yojayate hitaya, guhyana nigruhati gunana pragati karoti, apadgatam chana jahati dadati kale, sanmitra lakshamanam idam pravadanti santaha. Kshemendra makes particular mention of this quality of Ratnakara. This is a commentary on the Hari Vijaya, which is called Vishama Padodyota. It seems that Ratnakara have penned in few minor works. One of them is the Vakropti Panchasika, which is printed in the Kavyamala series. It is a short poem of 50 verses only, which is an imaginary conversation between Lord Shiva and Parvati. Now next is Anandavardhana, who lived during the period 850 to 900 of the current era. Anandavardhana is popular of the Dhvani theory in poetics, a very important theory. It is a newer approach to elucidate the essence of poetics. Dhvanira atigabhirena kavya tattva niveshina Anandavardhana kasyana sid Anandavardhana. Rajashekhara has mentioned. He invented minutest essence of Dhvani and thereby gladdened everybody. He was also a great poet of Kashmir. He was a Brahmin by birth and the son of Nonopadhyaya. He is a contemporary of Manoratha, who is mentioned by Abhinav Gupta while commenting on a verse of Dhvanya Loka and by Kallana. His date falls in the latter half of 9th century of the current era. It is not known how many poetical works Anandavardhana has penned, written. He specifically mentions Vishamabana Leela, Arjuna Charita, Madhumathana Vijaya, and Hari Vijay. The Vishwa Bana Leela is written in Prakrita. Many verses are taken from it and quoted in Dhvanyalok. It might have been a compilation of the model of the anthologies in Sanskrit, as it is stated that it was written mainly for the benefit of poets by such clear references as Kavivit Pattaye. Anandavardhan has also written a shorter prayer poem, Stuti Stotram, which consists of 100 verses called Devi Shatakam. It praises Divine Mother Durga. A commentary on this Devi Shatakam is written by Kayyata, the grandson of Vallabhadeva. At the end of commentary, the names of commentator and his guru and the date of his composition are specifically mentioned. Vallabhadevaya Nitaschandra Aditya Adavapya Janmemam Kayyatanamo Rachad Vivrutim Devi Shataka Stotre Ekayanas Achyuta Tulya Murtair Acharya Narayana Gartanamna Shishena Drushbe Yamananta Shastravetu Sadrukshena Chakaitayena Vasumati Gaganoda Adhisamakale Yate Kalestaya Loke Dvapanchashe Varshe Rachiteyam Bhimaguptan Drupe. Devi Shatakam is full of Shabda Alankara, Yamaka, Shlesha, Chitrabandha. It is rather difficult composition in some places due to the use of figure of speech called Pana, in which words or provincial language also are used in Sanskrit verse. There are several verses in which there are only 2 or 3 letters, alphabets are used. For example, there is a verse in which 2 letters are used. Nene nunam anena mana namula nona manana nume nunme ninam aneni mana mamuna namna nume nonmana maune nana mama nunna manana nana mina nuni me munmin mana namana nimu nimano manana nonma mini. There are more poets in this chain, but due to this time constraint, we shall take a pause here and we will resume. Sarve pisukhinas santu, santu sarve niramayaha, sarve bhadrani pashyantu, ma kaschit dukkha bhag bhavet, punarmilamaha.